It's time for Maggie and the Moms. Sponsored by Tampa General Hospital.
All right, between staying on top of our kids' schedules, their health, their problems, to managing our own lives, personal and professional, and oh yeah, being the perfect wife, the juggle is real, ladies. And sometimes we drop the ball. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Maggie and the Moms, the podcast. This is the first ever episode, and I am so happy to be joined by two amazing moms, master jugglers, I might add, Stephanie Rodriguez-Neely, seven
at the moment
currently
right now,
because you're fostering two, 5 children, the founder of the Tampa Bay Moms Group. I don't know how you do it all, but I'm excited to find out. Yeah. Katie Kremitzos, I know her secret. She's zen.
I'm a little zen.
Katie has 2 girls, and she founded the Women's Meditation Network of podcasts. How many podcasts?
20 podcasts, 175 million lifetime downloads, girl. So, yeah, I'm loving that you're podcasting. I'm like your biggest cheerleader right now.
Okay, so we have to start with,
how
do you do this? Because you know, and I don't.
Juggle is real.
The juggle is real.
You know, I think if you asked any mom this, every single mom would say we don't. But here are some things that I do to help and to help me feel like I can. Prioritization, I think, is the number one thing for me. Constant prioritization. And really knowing my values in that. When I first had my first daughter, she's 9 now. So this is, 8.5, or I'm sorry, about, 8 years ago, something like that. She was about a year old. And I was, in my business at that time. I remember sitting down and writing my mompreneur mission statement. Mompreneur mission statement. I am a business owner. I'm a mom. What are my values? What's important to me? What do I really want out of this? And that has stuck with me, changed and evolved with more kids, different business, all that stuff. But it helped me get really clear on like, where are my values and is it important for me? How much time am I going to spend on those things? So for me, it was a lot of like setting up a schedule, and I still do this to this day, setting up my schedule so that the things that are really important to me actually have time in my life. And a lot of those are my kids and the time I'm spending.
Organization really does change the game.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I feel like, and also a great idea to write it down, because it's so easy to get caught up in just getting things done, like what you need to do, that you're kind of just going through the motions. If you take a pause and look back at what you wrote,
and I think the physical act
yourself.
of writing, more than just adding it to our phones, but writing it it gives you a different level of commitment because you have it on paper.
Now, we all try our best, but it's inevitable that we reach that point where you're human and you snap.
What?
So
I've never done that. It's only been a few hours since I did that.
But Stephanie and I are Hispanic, so we're
Girl.
like, we lose it, and we lose it good.
Girl included. Every single mother, you don't want to see me at night times. I mean, when I'm tired, my kids call me like, Mom, you're cranky pants now. And I'm like, yes, I know. Yeah. I got it.
Like we say on Maggie and the Moms, Momster mode comes out. And I don't know, A, how to stop it, or B, should I not be worried about stopping it? It's just about when you inevitably reach that burnout moment, just know that it's happening and apologize to your family after and say, I know this is not who I should be right now. This is not the kind of behavior I want to model for you, but here's what happened. And then you're just kind of showing them, we all lose it sometimes, but it's how you react.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is that what you do?
Because for me, when it comes to juggling and the struggle with it, my key is to just really, really, really lower my expectations. Because the lower your expectations, the easier things are. So I try to say, okay, if my kids just kind of pick up after themselves, do I really need them to clean everything and help me with this? Or can they do this? I do this, and we meet in the middle. And it's really a team effort. When I get into my momster mode, the only way to de-escalate is for me to distance myself from the situation, because there's nothing they can do in those moments. Really? I say nothing, but some of them figure out the trick is just go, I love you, and hug me. My daughter, my 16-year-old knows, just wrap her arms around me. And it's like, I can't be mad when they do that.
Yeah. Right.
But outside of that, like I have to walk away. Sometimes I just take the dog outside. Sometimes I say, Mommy's going on a timeout, and I go upstairs, because it's a lot. And we put more pressure on ourselves than anyone else. The pressure of being the perfect mom, being the perfect parent, housekeeper, employee, spouse, like we did that to ourselves. Like we blame society, but really we're responsible for our own expectations of ourselves. So just lower those expectations and you're not going to be disappointed.
I like that philosophy. You know, I also want to shout out to my husband because I said that it's a game changer to get organized, but you can't always be as organized as you'd like. And when you have a supportive spouse who recognizes in that moment that you are exhausted or overwhelmed or whatever it is and steps in, that is also a game changer. The other day, I have to tell you this, I had a day that was really rough. It was a terrible day. And my husband noticed that something was off. And he didn't say anything to me. He was just, I could tell he was just being nice and gentle. And when I finished dinner, he's like, I got it. And he took care of the dishes and he's like, go to bed and just relax.
Yeah.
And I'm relaxing. And next day, we wake up together every morning at 5:30. We are in the gym together without fail. And we keep each other accountable. And when he doesn't feel like it, I push him. And when I don't feel like it, he pushes me. That morning, I'm in bed and I kind of feel, because I guess my body's kind of used to waking up at 5 something now. And so I kind of hear something rustling next to me and I look over and my alarm hasn't gone off yet. And it's him. And he's standing there at my night table turning off my alarm. And I go, what are you doing? He goes, no gym for you today.
Oh, good job,
Sleep
Hugs.
an extra hour.
But shout out to the moms that don't have that, the single moms that are doing everything we're doing and they're doing it solo. Because I was a single mom, but luckily it was only one child at the time. I don't know how moms of multiples that are working full time and everything do it. Because I mean, it's a lot for us and we have partners that step in. I've got older teens that'll step in when needed. For those with littles and that don't have the same support system, I mean, it's the fact that they do it at all is just really, really remarkable. And I'm impressed because it's not easy.
Well, I think that's a really great point to bring back to that, like how we do the juggle, right? Which is such a horrible cliche, but it's true. Like it takes a village. So no matter if you're single momming it, if you are a married single mom, a lot of my military mom friends are like that, or like my husband travels a lot during parts of the year. So, or if you're married and your husband's there all the time, or, you know, whatever it is, we need help. And if we really, one thing I have come to.
Do you ask for help? A lot of us don't.
Not as much as I should, but I've had to.
I get mad when I don't get help that I refuse to ask for.
Yes, yes. I can do this. I can do all of it.
And then I'm like, why am I doing it by myself? I never said, hey, help me with this.
But you know the pain point that then makes me turn around and ask for help is that, again, those values, the things that I value, like quality time with my kid, like good meals together, you know, like work that is fulfilling, like those things start to suffer if I don't ask for help. And if I don't, and then that hurts even more.
But by the time
right?
I realize I need to ask for it, I'm so passive aggressive in how I ask for it that like,
Give me an
example.
example. Give me an example.
I'm cooking and I've got the dog needing to go out and the kids needing homework.
Oh, yeah.
And my way of asking for help at that point when I'm already overwhelmed is, I guess I just have to do everything myself around here. It's fine. I can go ahead and be a tutor and a chef and a dog walker.
Yeah.
That's not asking for help.
What's your dog's name?
Misty and Dewey.
So you can go, oh, I guess Misty and Dewey haven't gone for a walk yet.
Yeah.
What time is it?
But I say it much meaner than that.
They should be going. But maybe that's a nicer passive aggressive way. Or how about just saying, hey, so-and-so, please walk the dogs.
Walk the dog. Yeah.
They're your dogs too.
But then when I get to the point too, I'm like, you hear them barking. You hear them just as good as me. There's nothing wrong with your ears. Do something about it. So it's like, I don't ask for help. And then I get so angry that I don't get the help I don't ask for, that I don't ask for it kindly. And again, like we've all admitted to, like when it does get to that point, I do have to go back and go, guys, I'm sorry. I'm overwhelmed. I'm touched out. I'm overworked. I just need help. I should have asked for it better in the first place. But that always comes to me after the fact.
Right.
Of course.
Well, maybe doing everything, the maybe being the best at everything at the same time is not possible. Which brings me to my next question. Can you really have it all? Can you be the best mom, the kind of mom you want to be, the most successful career woman, and the best wife all at the same time?
It goes back to lowering your standards of what that all means to you, really. I mean, I've got so many kids that I would love to say every day I spend an hour and give each one individual attention for that hour. I don't have those hours in the day. So what we do is we combine. I try and take these two when we run this errand, so at least we get it. Just like I said, you have to lower your standards, and it's not a bad thing. It sounds funny when you say it because it sounds like a bad thing, but it really means it make reasonable expectations so you're not disappointed, because if I expect to be able to do these 5 things perfectly, I'm not going to be able to accomplish that. But if I say, let me do these things okay, but I'm going to rock it on these other 2, there's a good possibility that I can achieve perfection, at least one thing, and everything else just enough to get by to the next day.
I agree with that. Like, something's got to give. I just don't see how you can, give everything that is required to be the best at every single aspect of your life. What do you think?
I heard this recently on a podcast interview, and I cannot remember the woman's name who was saying it, but she was an athlete, and she was talking about the rule of thirds. And she was saying that a coach had told her, it was after a really bad day, of working out or training. And her coach had told her, if you're spending a third of your time at excellent peak level, a third of your time at good, and a third of your time having a crappy day, you're good. You're improving. And so when you show up and it's a crappy day, just know that that's part of the rule of thirds. And I feel like motherhood and I guess life goals in general, I would approach the same way, meaning I have my values up here, the things that are really important to me, to be who I want to be in this world, how I want to express myself, like the gifts I want to share, the kind of mom I want to be, the kind of relationship I want to have, the kind of friends I want to have. I hold those up and I can see those in the distance. And, kind of my path on all of those are sort of wiggling and wobbling like at any given moment. I actually really love, and it's helpful to me, to see my life chunked down in weeks at a time. And
what do you mean?
Meaning like, every Monday I'm sitting down and I'm sort of writing my priorities for the week, right? Now, typically they're business priorities when I'm kind of getting down and dirty for business,
You're
right?
a write stuff downer person.
I am.
That's
I love
really
writing
good.
stuff. It's so powerful. I'm still like handwriting in a journal, right? And so I will know, but I'll do this sort of for everything in general. I know that I can't structure Monday to look exactly like this and Tuesday to be exactly like this. I need some wiggle room. But if by Friday and Saturday I get there and I'm like, how did I do? I did all right.
Sometimes it's just about showing up and trying your best, even if you don't accomplish everything. Because like I said, we just have to give ourselves grace.
Yeah.
And I don't think, like, you can't make several things, in my opinion, your top priority. There is only one top priority. And what changed my life was deciding what is my top priority and then structuring my life accordingly.
Yes.
What's your
I
top
remember
priority?
my family, being a mother to those two children who didn't ask to come into this world. I brought them into this world and I owe it to them to raise them, to be their teacher, to be their mother. And I remember when I was at the network doing the early show, that was my priority, even though I believed and I said that I was all about mothering. The truth is, the nanny was raising my kids. And I would step in and be there when I could, if I could. And it came to a point when I was pregnant with my second child. They're now 19 and 14. I was pregnant with Mikey, and I remember thinking, what am I doing? Here I am bringing another child into the world. And this little girl, I'm never there for the play dates. The nanny has seen her take her first steps, not me. I remember I was driving with my husband and I said to him, would it be crazy if I just walked away from it all? And he's like, if you're saying that, I would be the happiest man in the world. But that's your decision. And so I seriously started considering just walking away because I had already reached the peak and now I wanted to be a mom. And then when they told me that they were taking me off the morning show and they said, but don't worry, you can still do the weekend evening news and you can still be a correspondent for 60 minutes and 48 hours. I thought to myself, okay, so now I'm going to be on a plane most days of the week and work weekends, which is even less time with my family. I'm out. And I spent 10 years as a stay-at-home mom. And it's the best decision I ever made. And I didn't have any regrets.
But it's so great for people like yourself that has the privilege of being able to make that decision too.
Yes.
It's
well,
really
I
hard.
agree
Not
with
everybody has
that.
that
I agree with
option.
that. But let me say this, and that's such an important point. You can have it all, but you're going to have to make some sacrifices. Because after 10 years, I realized I'm going to go back to work. I want to. I'm bored. My kids don't need me. We could use the money. But I didn't want to go back to work at that level, even though I had the opportunity. Because for me, the sacrifice had to be financial. I want to go back to work, but I'm going to do a job that is more mom friendly. Yes, maybe doesn't pay as much, but that fulfills me. It's the kind of job I want to have. And financially, we don't have to live in as big a house. We don't have to take as many trips. And that's success and that's happiness because your top priority, you're staying true to it.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. I don't know.
I think it's so important, though, for every single mom to really look inward and, again, decide those priorities. And they change, they evolve during any season of her life. And I think it's just so important to constantly be touching base with ourselves so that we know what that is. Small microcosm of an example is, both my kids are in school. I have a almost 6-year-old and a 9-year-old. So they're in school during daytimes. And this summer, as soon as school ended, we moved. This is the first time I've moved as an adult with, furniture and kids and stuff. Like I moved 20,000 times as a young adult with nothing and garbage bags. So I had no idea what to expect. And I found out moving's a big deal. There's a lot of stuff that happens in a move, right? Luckily for me, my head producer, production manager literally just kind of held everything together. But I was completely opted out of work for weeks. I would do bare minimum stuff that I needed to do. Maybe a couple hours a week is what I could handle because I was just handling everything else. Kids were at home. They didn't want to go to camps, all of this stuff. And I about went crazy just because of that change and that shift. And so I constantly had to ask myself, what is the priority here? Do I want to be on top of my work right now and on top of the visioning and the guiding of the company right now? Or does this need to be the time where my attention or my number one priority is settling my family, getting our space organized, getting our lives and our routines organized, and letting that be the priority and letting everything sort of be a little further down.
But that's also setting the example for your kids too,
Yes,
and
100%.
teaching them how to prioritize
Yes.
and decide what is most important for them.
Right.
And again, teaching them reasonable expectations are key to success, things like that. So as we do that, it's for our benefit, but again, it goes back to our family because it's teaching them hey, my mom functioned. She might not have been perfect, but when she said family's priority, she was there for all those
Right.
first. And,
Exactly.
I think in the back of my head with everything, even when I have my momster moments and why I try to apologize, it's because I know my kids are watching.
Yeah.
Your kids are
And
watching,
know
and
everything
if
see.
you're one of those moms who you rightly mentioned, who doesn't have a choice but to go to work and maybe leave the kids at daycare and would rather be with the kids but just
that's
doesn't
teaching
have
the
to.
kids.
That's
That's
teaching the
putting
kids
them first because you're working.
That's right. That, and not only that, when you are with your kids, because if I'm
Quality
honest,
over quantity.
sometimes I knew the nanny was there and maybe I didn't go. And I got used to you take her, you do this. When you have the moment with your kids, be with your kids.
Be present. That's a
Be
big
present.
thing.
Be present. And that's what they'll remember.
But also don't be scared to take time for yourself because if you're
Yes.
working full time
Yes.
and you know
Back
the
to
nanny's
the
got her
juggle.
and you want a little bit of time for yourself,
Yes.
that is important.
But that's-
Self-care is important.
Okay, but is that the exception or the norm? Because I feel guilty taking time for myself. I feel like I will have plenty of time to take for myself when my kids are out of the house right now, or am I going overboard? Because I don't
Not
really
me.
go out with friends, and I haven't gotten a massage in many years. I hardly, obviously, get manicures.
No, I don't care.
Is it selfish?
It depends on
is
what it is.
self-care selfish?
But self-care for me sometimes is going in the bathroom, running a bubble bath, and reading for an hour. We say mom's marinating because that's what it is. It's the only time they get away from me. And to me, that's self-care. And yeah, I could be playing a board game or reading a storybook, but that's what I need. And I have to take care of myself first because how can I take care of my kids if I don't? And it's teaching my kids it's okay to prioritize what you need sometimes over the needs of others. And I don't go out a lot. I don't do a lot for myself, but the things I do prioritize them. Not over my kids' games or the essential things like that, but I make sure mom gets a chance to marinate, mom gets a pedicure. I probably get a total of 3 hours that's me time. And sometimes that's 15 minutes just sitting in the Target parking lot, scrolling on my phone without children present. I need that to be me, to center myself so I can focus on my children. And I like that they see me doing that because, again, it's teaching them it's okay to prioritize your mental health and your own well-being sometimes.
Because otherwise, when you are with your family, you're going to be
those momster moments happen
mess.
way more
You're gonna be
frequently
a
if I
mess.
haven't had.
You're not going to be a good mom.
Yep.
You're going to be unhappy and bitter and resentful. And you're not going to be able to handle the juggle.
No, I sprinkle, like, I need a lot of alone time. And so, you know, I can get a lot of that when the kids are away at school. And a lot of it intentional alone time, like not just, oh, I'm alone so I can go do these house tasks or the work tasks, right? It's not that, but it's like, I need time to meditate. I need time to walk around in my yard. I need time to be out in nature. I need time to be with my husband. And we're totally like unashamed of how much that occurs. My husband and I have a date night every single weekend.
You do?
Yeah, they pretty much go. My in-laws are close to us and they love having sleepovers at Yaya and Papu's every single weekend.
Greeks.
Yeah, and Greeks, the big fat Greek family. And they, you know, my little one in the years when she was super attached was like, why do you have to leave? I'm like, mommy and daddy need a mommy and daddy date, you know? And then when it's my time, I'm like, oh, I do Katie retreats. I do Katie retreats probably 3 to 4 times a year.
What are Katie retreats? What do they look like?
48 hours, 2 nights of Katie going somewhere by
Really?
herself.
Sounds delightful.
I will make it happen.
I think I need a Katie retreat.
I need a Katie
You
retreat.
guys, and look, it sounds really luxurious, and it, you know, maybe it is now, but like it hasn't always been. Like I'll save up my credit card points, and then I'm using the credit card points to go get me a place down in Anna Maria Island for 2 nights.
And I could never. I would feel so guilty.
know.
Like
When
mom's
the kids
having
go
fun
out.
and
Yeah.
I'm home.
Because-
Mom is traveling and I'm home.
No, because then they get to have fun dad time, and you know, like. And for me, it's also this little, maybe this is a little bit of passive aggressive in me, which I don't think I am, but like maybe it's a little like, hey, have at it. You think you think you're good?
yeah. It's a
Why
good
don't you
reminder
see
for
what
dad.
I do? Why don't you see what I do?
Yeah.
But it's less of that, but more of I need to reconnect with myself. I put a lot of time and attention to knowing myself.
Will Dad ever admit that it was hard?
No,
Yeah,
of
my
course
husband
not.
is like, oh, it was so easy. I could do this all the time. Like,
Yeah, my kids are like, we ate 5 guys every day. And
My husband forgot to feed them one time,
Oh, yeah.
and it has been
Yeah.
the greatest thing to ever happen because
Yeah.
I can bring it up all the time for the rest of their lives.
Well, when
my
I went
gosh.
on a work trip, I put on the front door, "Don't forget to feed the kids." And I wasn't even kidding. I was not even kidding.
They were not going hungry. They were playing video games, but it got to be like 11 o'clock at night, and one of the kids finally goes, "Are we gonna eat?" So of course it's, Mom, Dad didn't feed us.
Well,
So
look,
that's great.
I recognize that I'm wrong in my thinking about self-care, and in this conversation, I realized it doesn't have to be a Katie retreat, although that sounds amazing, and I want to have one in my life.
It could be a nap.
or many, like
Yes.
you said,
Anything.
it can be, and maybe that's why waking up at 5 every day and having that coffee, and
That
then
is your
by
alone time.
myself,
Yes.
it gets my day started right, and then going to the gym is more
Huge.
self-care.
Yeah,
Yes.
but it is. And it also is what self-care, because like you mentioned, like me sitting in the Target parking lot scrolling on my phone for 15 minutes, that's self-care. But me going in Target and having to shop for everybody, that's not me time. I'm still doing for them.
Right.
So it's
Right, you got to
on-
tell the husband that doesn't count.
It doesn't count. Like
It doesn't count.
Yeah, me going,
Wait,
oh,
but you
I'm
were
going out
you were
shopping."
alone all day. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
I was alone working. I was alone at the grocery store. I was
Right.
alone
cooking,
cooking.
running
cleaning,
errands for
cook-
everyone
yes.
else.
Yes.
It's so true. All right. So before we go, I want to end every podcast on kind of just a fun topic. So I was thinking, what could we do? And I'm curious to know, because you know, kids say the darndest things. Ladies, what is the craziest question that your kids have asked you, and how did you tackle it? Katie.
Oh my gosh. So this happened in Sedona, Arizona a few years ago. My daughter's name is Sedona. I'm from Arizona. So we took both of our girls up there so she could see like her namesake, right? It was super cold. It's December. It's beautiful. And a little bit of a background to this is that I was raised heavily Catholic. We have chosen not to raise our kids in religion. We are deeply spiritual people, but they don't know religion, right? Like that's just not part of their vernacular. So we walk into this, it's called the Chapel on the Hill, and it's this gorgeous church that's built into the mountains in Sedona. So we go up there, we walk in, and there's, a giant statue of Jesus on the cross. And my daughter very loudly goes, "Who's that?" I'm like, oh God. Oh God. Oh God.
I should at least know that.
I don't know how to explain this right now.
So how did you?
We sat down. I mean, you can hear everything in here. And I was like, well, that's Jesus. And she's heard who Jesus is before. Like we've had conversations about that. But so I was just like, this is
But you weren't planning on that lesson.
Wasn't planning on it right then. This is who he was. He was a really beautiful man. Like, all of the things, like as much as I could condense in like 3 sentences.
So
right?
you did take the time to sit her down and give somewhat of an explanation instead of being
bit.
like, we'll talk about it later.
I did not
I'll
do
tell
that.
you later.
Right. I gave enough to give her a little bit of an answer. And we've, over time, little splitches and splotches, we sort of are able to talk and sort of like fill in the story. So that was interesting.
Oh my God. How did people around you react?
I definitely had a lot of like, and of course I'm aware that they're hearing me explain
As
it.
echoes off all the walls and it's empty.
I'm like, I'm not doing a good job of this at all. But
And as a Catholic, you're probably like feeling like guilty, like bad. Maybe that's where my mom guilt comes from.
I'm thinking like, what would my mom say right now? If my mom were sitting right here next to me, she'd be like, oh my gosh, how disappointed I am in you.
Ay, Dios mío.
Ay, Dios mío.
What about you? Have you ever gotten a doozy?
Oh my! I get so many because so many kids.
Yeah.
But my son, my youngest boy, he just turned 6. This just happened. We're driving, and I've got a large roundabout in my neighborhood, and I almost left the roundabout into the bushes because he goes from the back seat. He goes, "Mom, what's an orgasm?" And I don't know where he's heard this word.
Wait. 6 years old. Mom, what's an orgasm?
What's an orgasm?
Okay, I have to hear
Yeah.
how mom handled this one.
So you've heard me keep things age appropriate, be honest and age appropriate. I could not do that in this situation. I mean, he's 6. How is that age appropriate? So I said, "Oh, it's a small life form that's in bodies of water."
Ah, of course. Because he said organism.
Organism.
Mom?
Organisms live in.
That's brilliant. That
You know
is,
what? I didn't
that's
know
a
what
nice
else to
sidestep,
say.
girl. I am very
So
impressed.
I don't know if he meant organism. I'm
Let's hope.
hoping.
Yes.
But,
I'm
he's got
sure
a small
he
attention span.
did.
So we just diverted. He's like, "Oh, what else is in water?" I was like, "Oh, there's all sorts of things in water." And then that was,
Gosh. You
So,
win the medal.
I just
because
dodged a
that is master mommy.
Yeah, that really-
right
that was
there.
very
I didn't know
good.
what else to say.
That's perfect.
And the kids that knew are dying.
Oh, there were other kids in the car.
Oh, of course. There's always
Other
there's always
kids in the
witnesses
car.
to my catastrophes.
All right. Well, mine is we had just moved to Tampa, so I guess my son was 7, maybe 8, and we're driving on Dale Mabry.
Oh, I know where it's going.
And he says, "Mom, what's Mons Venus?"
You're like,
And
great job reading.
I'm like, "Oh, I don't know. Why?" He goes, "Well, it's the place to be if you're lonely at Christmas." And I look at the marquee, and sure enough, the place to be if you're lonely at Christmas. So there you have it. Now you know. Well, listen, this is the place to be if you want to talk parenting, if you want to come hang out with us. I don't know, Katie, you're the master podcaster. I don't really know how to do this.
Yeah.
Any
you
tips?
just did.
I feel like you handled
Did
it
we
pretty
just
well.
did we just do
You
a
just did-
podcast?
you can just do a mic drop at this point. Like
Yeah,
you're good, girl.
No.
Podcasting is all about having real conversations, real stories.
She nailed it. She absolutely
I
nailed
I
it.
feel like it's like being a mom. You don't really know how to do it. You just kind of do it.
But we're getting lost, and I just felt like I was talking with my girlfriend.
That's exactly how it's supposed to feel.
That's the point. Thank you for being here for the first one.
And congratulations.
Yay! Here we are, Maggie and the Moms family. Thank you for watching and listening. Have a good one.
We did